Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another delightful discussion on all things well-being. I'm Dr. Kimberly Quinn, and it is my great honor and privilege to help people become the boss of their brain, becoming the boss of their thoughts. Why? Because thoughts come first and feelings come second, and then actions or behaviors third or last. And so it's of utmost importance for our well-being to learn to practice thought control, because what we allow in the living room dictates how we feel. Excellent. I will also tell you I am in this gazebo, which is usually inhabited by students, which is what we want, but it's just kind of cool. I can like being here today because Champlain is so gorgeous, especially on this beautiful September day. So today we're going to talk about assumption making, because this is part of this series that I did not plan to be a series, but it's sort of become a series on personal freedom. I'm a huge freedom person. I'm just a huge freedom person. And I talked about, I think, how if something even feels like the slightest bit in the way of that, it feels like a splinter in my toe. And I kind of can't really go on with my day until I kind of reflect on what that splinter is and then how to remove that splinter. So I'll just walk over. This campus is so beautiful. I just got to do a turnaround because look at how gorgeous this is. All the bricks and the pretty stones. I mean, just look at how pretty that is, huh? Okay, so assumption making. Well, the thing is that we're kind of wired to make assumptions. Why? Because the brain is lazy. So even if you are not a lazy person, ooh, that tree looks like so Lion King, doesn't it? Even if you are not a lazy person, the brain is lazy. And so assumption making is really meant to be a shortcut to save juice for the brain. Like just jump to this, jump to that. And there are times when that can work for us, but I think we know for the most part that this just does not work for us. It doesn't, right? And so basically there are two systems of thought involved here. System one, which is kind of the automatic jump to conclusions part of us, and there's system two, which is a much more slowed down, gather the facts kind of system. That's obviously very simplified. So I actually use a book in Minecraft, which I wasn't thinking of till this exact moment, called Mastermind, which is cool because it explains to students, and they love it. It puts all this in the context of Sherlock Holmes and Watson, which is sort of neat to learn, all this cool stuff about how we think in the context of that storyline. And so system one is Watson, right? Kind of just knee-jerky, thinking with feelings, that sort of thing. And then the more slowed down system two is Sherlock, because obviously Sherlock observes and takes in the facts and then smokes his pipe and figures it all out before he actually responds. And so system one and system two, are basically the difference between reacting and responding. Now again, obviously there are times when reacting is good, like you see a 4-year-old about to walk out in front of a car and you jump and save the toddler. Obviously that's a good thing. Or like Watson often does or sometimes does while Sherlock's observing something. He's about to get hit by a train, then that's sort of Watson's thing, is to push Sherlock out of the way of the train. So that is the time that it's a good thing, but usually it's not. It just isn't, because that automatic system one is the part of us that jumps to conclusions. It's reactive. And so since the brain is trying to take a shortcut, it's kind of throwing things together, throwing associations together that then spit out, sort of a way for us to react, or even a solution. So obviously we can make assumptions on big levels, really big levels, like racism and judging people based on the color of their skin, and we can judge people based on what they wear, and we can judge them on religion, we can judge them on how we perceive a certain group of people to behave. They use the word perceive, obviously. And whether they're all inked up. People we can judge, make assumptions about people with tattoos. And actually I just thought of a story about that. I had a student once who was very put together, had a good job, and was engaged to be married soon. And he had tattoos. He had sleeves, tattoo ink on his arms. And he went with his fiance to go find an apartment. And the woman met him outside and said, I quizzed him on whether he had a job or not, which, okay, because she's renting the place, so maybe. and then proceeded to ask him if he had been in prison and all this stuff. So quizzing him out, do you have a job, and have you done time, all based on, we're not judging people who made mistakes either, that wasn't the point. The point is that making that like immediate, jumping to that conclusion of he probably doesn't work and probably was in jail all because he's got tattoos on his arms. That's just so crazy. And she didn't rent it to him, actually. He didn't have either one of the, or he had the box checked for a job and no box checked for the other thing, and she just refused to rent to him. And he's like, okay, fine. I mean, that's just like one example. We all know that all that stupid shit happens all the time, and it's not fair or right or okay on any level. So there's these biases that we carry around that are, for the most part, unconscious. They're very unconscious. In fact, Harvard's got that implicit bias test out there that millions and millions of people have taken at this point, which is cool, because it's cool because it sort of lets it be known that no matter how unbiased we think we are, typically something shows up there because it's in the unconscious. It's in the vault. Stuff said to us when we're little, and stuff reinforced later in media and people saying things out in the world and that sort of thing. And then what happens is we use that system one, we think with our feelings, and the unconscious, of course, drives the bus, yada yada yada, and then we end up making decisions based on bias, which leads obviously to prejudice, and then ultimately discrimination, which is the damage caused by the other things, right? And so we've got that. And so in addition to that, for assumption making, now switching out of that place, it's all the same thing. But when we make assumptions assumptions in general from conversations and text messages, and it's just so nuts when we just meet someone, and then also it leads to drama, right? We're just assuming we know how somebody feels, right? We assume that we know how somebody feels and what they're thinking. So that means sort of all of a sudden we've got our mind reading skills down pat, and that usually doesn't lead anywhere good. And that would be in a conversation, maybe even, where we can actually have tone and a face to look at. Even worse when we've got text messages. And I'm fluent in young adult now because I teach them and I love them. They're wonderfully intelligent, enthusiastic, and everything. They're just amazing. I found my niche for sure. I also love it here, as you know. I just got to show you that beautiful building once again. It's so pretty. It's circular. It's very neat. When we make assumptions, we tend to make assumptions on a daily basis, really. And it just doesn't go anywhere good. And the young adults will tell me that they get a text. And of course, that's just print. It's just print. How can you possibly know what's happening from a text message or an email? You can't. And they'll say, well, exclamation points. That probably means they're yelling, right? And the ... means something. I forget at this point. And also, since now that we can read the messages, right? We can tell that somebody's looked at it, which they are all over. That means if somebody looked at it quickly and didn't acknowledge you, that must mean they don't want to include you in whatever it is. Or if you're dating, they don't like you anymore and they want to break up with you. It can't mean that they're at the dentist, maybe even having a root canal, right? So it'll take longer for them to get back to you. Or, their phone's dead, or they left it in their backpack and can't hear it, or it can't be anything like that. It's got to be, that it's something horrible that they're leaving you out of, or that they don't like you anymore, right? We just make so many assumptions. And then what happens is, when we make one assumption and we react or respond to that person via text or verbally, since that's our perception is that, which is wrong, they are then reacting or responding to us based on the response we just gave, which is based on no truth. So then think of where that goes, like dominoes. No truth, and then responded to, no truth, and it's just like a big old mess. And then we think about the valuable life minutes being just going down the drain, just circling the drain. It's so crazy. So the thing is, obviously, this leads into the first part of the series, which I did not plan to be a series once again, is do not take things personally. By the way, the 4 Agreements is a great book. I didn't really plan this to be about that, but these are 2 of the agreements. Let's just say it. That's Don Miguel Ruiz's book. And so we have don't take things personally, and don't make assumptions, and just think of how well these go together. we make assumptions that then lead us to take something personally, when whatever that person said about us is like, let's just give a percentage, 98% about them. Even if there's some things that sound accurate about it, it's all coming through their own filter. We're all of our own main characters on our own stage with our own script, and we wrote the script and all that stuff. So it's about the other person. It's about the other person. When we make assumptions, it rolls right into the drama. And anybody who knows me knows I am just anti-drama. I am not going to spend, actually it would be waste. I prefer to spend them like cash, my life minutes, right? My valuable life minutes. Drama is just a waste, and I will not waste my life minutes. I've really, honestly, not been into that even in high school or anything. I'm just not into it. And now it's like a repellent. I don't do drama. Go ahead, I'm not judging other people. Go ahead and you can be in that spiral, and to me it's like a tornado or I don't even know. But go ahead, live and let live. I don't have a need to stop you from what you're doing. I just don't want to, I'm not going to bite the hook. Don't want anything to do with that. Why? Because my life minutes are way too valuable. And then the other part that goes in with the drama and the assumption making is jumping on the gossip train. And I try hard not to do that. Do we all slip up sometimes? Of course we do, but I'm really not a fan, because gossip is just, I don't know, it's like verbal venom or something, or just emotional poison. It's just terrible, and it spreads like freaking cancer. It's just so bad. And when we can walk away from that, doesn't mean we need to be all preachy and self-righteous and stuff. Nobody likes those people. We don't like those people, right? If there's a way to just dodge the drama bullet, or the gossip train, to just say, no, I'm not getting on the train. You just do it just subtly. Just find a subtle excuse to get out of there. Excuse yourself to the restroom, or I don't know, anything. You can possibly do it, because it's so tempting to jump on that train. And that's because it's the common enemy thing, same like in 5th grade, is bonding. I mean, it's kind of sad, but it bonds us. We talked about the kid who picked their nose, and don't sit next to that kid. Well, the grown-up version of that is people are all talking by the water cooler, and it might not even be something enormously cruel. It might be mild, but sadly, it's a little twisted actually. That can bond us, and it's not good karma. I mean, whatever it is, but it's not good karma. It doesn't feel good. The reason it doesn't feel good is because it isn't good. And judgment is such a fix for it. It's like a dope fix, And sometimes I think it's because we, for a brief second, feel like we're doing better than someone else is. And obviously, whenever we elevate ourselves at someone else's expense, and I'm not being preachy because I'm not that person. Again, I don't like those people. And I'm not saying I don't get caught up in it sometimes, because we all do. And then I'm like, oh, seriously? Because then we just feel, even it's mild, we just feel badly. And it's good that we feel badly, because we can reflect and try to, step out of that current, because it just doesn't go anywhere good. So anyway, the only way to know something for sure about a person, how they think and feel, is to ask them, right? To ask them. And really, I guess the main theme of this is to step out of system 1 as much as you can, because unless you're saving a toddler from in front of a moving vehicle, or you're Watson saving Sherlock from a train, it doesn't typically go anywhere good. It just doesn't. So to step out of that, observe, hit the pause button, especially with me being in the Fast Mind Club. It's taken me years to be able to do that with any kind of efficiency, and I still have to work at it. Hit the pause button and gather the facts before you make any assumptions about anything. Even if you're assuming where somebody wants to go for their birthday dinner, maybe ask. When in doubt, ask. Excellent. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Champlain College in northern Vermont, Burlington actually. Have a mindful day.